I remember the night my wife passed away, she passed away at home, and I walked over the threshold from our bedroom into the hall, and I just walked out, and I just thought, oh my God, what's going to happen? And it was the middle of the morning. It was like 1 a.m. I went outside, opened the front door, looked upside. It was a full moon, looked up at the moon. Palm tree was blocking a little bit of the moon, and I go, this is how I'm going to remember this. Just the moon and the palm tree. It's very peaceful. Went back inside. We all know everyone has problems. Everybody in their life have issues to deal with. So the thing I would say is the person in the car next to you that you're honking at, that person may be coming home from visiting someone in the hospital. That person may be dealing with an incredible problem. That person just may not be having your day. Give everybody a break. I remember driving home from my dad's funeral, and I wasn't going fast enough. And this guy's behind me honking, and I think to myself, you idiot, don't you know I'm coming home from my dad's funeral? Of course, he did not know that. I knew that. But I thought, well, what if I was the guy who was honking and the other guy was coming home from his dad's funeral? So, give everybody the break, because everyone's going to deal with that. We all have disappointments. We all have hurt, and it's just a matter of how we deal with it. We can hold grudges, or we don't have to. So if you're lucky and you can figure out how not to hold a grudge, you're going to be much better off and happy. Hi, I'm Jeff Adelson. I'm with the firm of Adelson McLean.
Hello. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on the TOA Storytellers podcast. And what we're doing is just kind of going around and talking to luminaries in our field. And I consider you definitely one of those, having known you for a number of years since I started my firm in 2003. You'd already been in the industry for a long time. So thank you so much for coming today.
Well, thank you.
How are you doing today?
Doing great.
And the name of your firm, Adelson McLean, it's you, and I don't think I know Mike McLean.
He's a liability defense attorney. He's civil. I'm comp, and he's civil defense.
How long? When did you actually start in comp?
I started in comp in 1978.
Right out of law school?
Right out of my mother's womb.
A true story.
Absolutely.
But no, I was looking at your resume, and you went to Cal State Fullerton for your bachelor's. And then after that, you decided to go to law school. Which one did you go to?
I went to Western State.
They're local here in Orange County.
They were local, yeah. I have the proud honor of having gone to a law school that's filed for bankruptcy.
The dubious honor. I didn't see that on your resume, by the way.
Well, I mean, I don't do bankruptcy law.
Well, you have a first client if you wanted to, right?
Well, hopefully no one in this room.
No, you're old school.
Right.
No, but what year did you get your law degree?
7.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry, 1976.
Did you always want to be an attorney?
Once I realized that there were no other avenues open for me, I did.
Wait, what do you mean no other avenues? This is the last resort? What was plan A?
Well, if you're a guy whose only talents in life are writing and understanding and remembering what you read, you're pretty limited to being an attorney. When I was in...
or an actuary.
Yeah, well, I'm not even good with that. When I was in wood shop in 8th grade, my teacher said, I'm going to make you a deal. If you don't pick up a tool and outline the book, I'll give you a B. If you touch a tool or go near a tool, I'm going to flunk you.
Whoa.
And I think you should be a lawyer.
That was the wood shop teacher saying that?
Yeah, it opened up a lot of doors.
That's like the PE coach telling you, hey, you'd be really good at chess club.
You had the same coaches?
Yeah. No, so you were more of a bookworm then, and less of a work with your hands kind of,
Well, by necessity, yeah.
Yeah? Did you enjoy school back then?
I did not enjoy school.
Where'd you go to high school anyway?
I went to Villa Park High School.
You were local all this whole time. You're born here then?
No, I was born in Los Angeles. But no, junior high and high school were difficult. I was bullied constantly for those 6 years. I was one of only one kind of person in my school. I was the only Jewish kid in a big school, and Orange County was not very nice back then. So I did not enjoy school until I got to college. Then I started enjoying school.
What they used to do, the bullies?
Well, they would...
bullying type thing.
Knock me off my bike, trip me, knock my books out of my hand, bash my head in the lockers, punch me, knock me over stools, rip up my papers, wait for me when I was walking home, burn swastikas on our lawn. Other than that, it was heaven.
I'm sorry that happened.
So much. Thank you.
Are you in contact with any of those guys now? You ever see them like on Facebook or just out there in life growing up?
No, I made it a point not to. A few years ago, someone wanted to catch up with me on LinkedIn, one of the kids who pushed me off my bike many times. And I thought, well, there's only one reason. There's only two reasons he'd want to link up with me. One, he's gone through an AA program. He has to make amends. Or two, he wants to knock me off my bike again. And I decided that either one, we're not worthy. And I probably wouldn't be very receptive to anything he had to say to me. So I did not respond.
So growing up was pretty tough then, sounds like.
It was interesting. It was interesting. You know, if the only safety you have is in your room, and we're living in an era where there's no video games, and in my house...
Pre-video games or just your family did?
Pre-video games.
Yeah.
There were no video games. And no television in the room because people didn't have televisions in every room then. So basically, I read and I listened to loud rock and roll and I read. That's what I did.
I saw that on your resume. There's a whole side of you that's on it that's very unique. And the website, adelsonmclean.com. It's very cool to see your professional work history, your bio stuff, yes, but also that you kind of like have this artistic soul side that's very creative, very in tune with art, music, books.
Well, it's good stuff.
I think
It's a good place to escape.
Yeah.
And if you're being bullied, generally speaking, you find an escape, and thankfully mine was in looking for knowledge, not in other areas that are harmful to you.
So it was the woodshop teacher who inspired you to become an attorney?
No, actually, it was my cousin Marvin.
What Marvin say?
The woodshop teacher just really confirmed what we already knew. A kid who can't bounce a ball without knocking his glasses off is probably not going to play for the NBA. My cousin Marvin is a judge, but when I was growing up, he was just becoming an attorney.
So he's a little older than you?
Quite a bit. And he ultimately became the presiding judge of the federal district in Chicago.
Whoa. So it's in your blood.
Yeah. So even though he's in his 80s, he's still hearing cases.
Go Marvin.
Oh, yeah. He's awesome. He's great.
Is he cool?
Yeah. My cousin.
At 80, to be still on the bench, that's impressive, right?
Well,
have those faculties.
Yeah, well, 80, it's not a problem being on the bench at 80. The problem is getting off the bench at 80.
I wanted to mention that Rick is here. Hi, Rick.
Hello.
Hey, so right after high school, then you just went and got your undergraduate first in liberal arts, I look like, right?
History. I always really enjoyed it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I got out of college at 21, and I got out of law school at 24, and I started practicing law at 25.
What kind of law was it at first?
Well, anything that you could get. You know, I did not go to a upper level law school.
Southwestern's no like slouch, or I mean Western State. So we said, right?
Yeah, it's fine. It was a fine school, but
Yeah.
it's not Berkeley. So I went. I had a hard time finding work. My hair was really long, and when I was 25, I looked like I was about 17. And I would go to court, and the judges would tell me I couldn't go because I wasn't a lawyer. And
How long was your hair, by the way? Your hair's pretty long today, too. It looks cool.
I don't think it's too long today. I mean,
It's not too long. It was great.
Almost down to my shoulders. So I'd go to one job, and they'd say, you have to cut your hair. I'd go to another, and they'd say, you can only wear a white shirt to work. And I'd go to another, and they say, you have to sit here. And then when the bell rings, you can get up. It was insurance company law.
Those were all non-starters at that age?
Yeah, really. How I got my first law job is kind of crazy.
Lawyers.
Okay, well, I really love movies and I love music. And I was wandering around the streets at 25 trying to find a job. So I really didn't know how to do it. There was no computers then. There was nothing. Everything was by mail. So I was living with my mom and dad. I didn't have any money. My mom and dad were nice enough to let me live with them. So what I would do is I'd get in the car and I would drive to LA every day, usually around Mid-Wilshire and Westwood. So I'd go down Wilshire ways. I'd find myself in Westwood, and I'd go up and down elevators into buildings, dropping off resumes in every
building for opportunities.
Yeah, every loft. Sometimes I'd go in and people would be nice. Sometimes I'd go in and I'd start stuttering because
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's how I'd be.
My eyes would be shocked. But ultimately, I would find that after an hour and a half, 2 hours of this, that I would go buy a newspaper and see what time movies were playing in Westwood. And I would I'd spend,
The rest of the day at the movie theater?
Yeah, let's stay in the movie theater, drive home. My mom and dad would say, how'd it go today? Did you find a job? I go,
Great.
tried really hard, but no. And by the way, if you haven't seen this, no.
Yeah, double feature.
So I was away.
So you go to any law firm, like it could be a probate, it could be defense, it could be PI, anything.
It didn't matter. I just needed a job. So ultimately, I got a call. I got a call at home. We didn't have cell phones. And we got a call. And my mom said, well, your friend from law school called and she's been offered 2 jobs and she's taking one. And she told these people.
That's a great guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I said, okay, where is it? She said, Santa Fe Springs. I go, I don't know where that is, but okay, Santa Fe Springs, fine.
Sounds beautiful.
It didn't matter. So I thought, okay, I'll get in the Volkswagen, put on the suit, drive down there. I'll be out of there in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I didn't want to work there. It's far. And I figure, okay, so they're going to look at my hair. They're going to say, hey, what do you do? And I'm going to tell them the truth. And the truth at the time was I was selling shoes at a department store. And I had my own business selling rare records with a really good friend of mine.
Vinyl records?
Yeah, vinyl. That's what all there was then. Yeah. Selling vinyl records at the swap meet, rare records, really good stuff. So I go strutting in there and I go, yeah, hi, I'm here. These 2 guys. One guy was a certified specialist in family law. One guy's certified specialist in criminal. They sit me down and the guy from family law guy says to me, so what have you been doing? What are you doing now? So as I rehearsed in my mind, I just looked at the guy and I said, I sell rare records at the swap meet, and the rest of the time I sell shoes.
All of the cards are on the table right now.
I thought, oh, good, I'm going home. And the guy says, whoa. He says, you know about records?
You're perfect. Yeah.
I go, yeah, I know all about records. And he says, sit here. So I'm sitting there. He comes in with these big paper bags that they used to have in the grocery stores full of invoices and Polaroid photos of records. And he says, what do you think of this? I go, holy crap. This is like a 1956 Elvis Christmas album. This is Elvis on Sun Record. This is like, I want this shit. I can make a fortune. And I don't say that.
I can make a fortune.
But that's what's going through my head. Yeah. So he says, good. He says, well, I'm representing this woman in a divorce. Her husband sells the records. She hates the records. There's records everywhere. There's records in the kitchen. The house is overrun with records. And I don't know what to even do with this. So, they always tell you never know more than you do when you get out of law school.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. So he says, what would you do? Well, straight off of passing the bar, it's like, I got this down now. I mean, ask me anything about it. Yeah. And I go, well, what you do is they're a community asset. And if the guy really loves records, he's going to want to keep the records. And if you threaten him for taking the records away, if it's a community asset, he's going to give up everything else. And she wants the house. She doesn't want the records, right? And he says, exactly. They said, take the guy's deposition, get a restraining order so he can't sell the community asset, act like you're going to take all the records, and he'll give you anything you want.
Oh, man.
Because the guy's sort of like a record clown. And
they're looking at you like, man, this guy's Columbo. This guy solved the case.
So they like, well, when can you start? And I think, really, I got to start? So
let's start.
So I go, okay, I can start tomorrow. So they bring in all these records. They go through these, go through that, inventory the records, find an appraiser, do all that. I do all that. Perfect. And they go, so my first deposition was take this guy's deposition. So my first deposition, I'm sitting in front of a table with this guy and I'm pulling out Polaroids of records. I go, how much is this worth? Well, it's not worth anything. Ching, ching.
Yeah.
So anyway, the ultimate thing was the guy loosened the wheels on his wife's car and when she pulled out of the driveway, they all fell off. Fortunately, they only fell off in the driveway.
Oh, man.
And, and it all went well. It all went great.
How much all the records worth? You remember?
The records were worth, and we're talking about in 1970s, they were worth about $150,000 back.
What? Wow.
I know, I remember, because the house was only worth $78,000. And
That's their life savings right there.
The best part was I'm going through all these piles of records, and in his house and everywhere.
And you want to buy some?
No. And not only that, added bonus, the guy also sold porn, which I stayed away from.
Okay, yeah. Let somebody else. Yeah,
let someone else do that. But anyway, so
whoa.
I stayed there for a while. I stayed there almost a year, and I learned a lot about different.
It was a perfect first job for you then, right?
Yeah.
Get your feet wet in an area that you were comfortable with from day one.
Yeah, so we did criminal, we did domestic, we wrote leases, we did probate. I mean, so I was exposed to a lot of stuff. But my love even before law school, was things that went on in the work world. So I draw back to a book I read when I was in college called Working by Studs Terkel.
Okay.
And if you've never read it, I suggest you do.
Studs, Studs. That's the first name?
Yeah. Terkel, I think, is Turkel. He was a famous columnist in Chicago, very well known. He would do basically open-end interview books. Before there were blogs and before there were webcasts, there was Studs Terkel. And he would, instead of recording people, he would walk up to them. For example, in this book called Working, he would say, okay, tell me about your job. Tell me how you do your job every day. And hundreds of people, and they would just say, well, I get up to work, and they would describe it. And everything from every kind of job you can imagine, both legal and not legal jobs at the time. And I thought, that's kind of cool, because I really like everything that goes on in the workplace. I'm really fascinated by the culture and the space of work.
Why?
Because it's real. It's because it's just really, it's that center cut of America. And it's the same thing with work comp. If you really want to see diversity, if you really want to see what people do in their daily lives, spend several decades taking depositions, as you have and I have, been involved in depositions of working people, and you'll hear more stories than you can imagine. If you look between the lines of what the life is that's being told to you, even if it's not relevant to the case, if you take the time to still hear the story, you'll learn a lot about our country. So that I really, the book really led me into that. Growing up, my dad had shoe stores and was a shoe designer as well. And
that's where the shoes come in.
Yeah.
Your dad.
Yeah. And I grew up selling shoes. I grew up as a kid selling shoes. I mean, I sold my first pair when I was 8 because, I was so cute. And then later on, I had to rely on someone wanting a shoe. But yeah, I mean, you really get to know people selling shoes too. My father, who always wanted to be a lawyer but wasn't, kept telling me, he says, the best experience you're ever going to get to be a lawyer is by selling shoes.
What? Really?
And I believe it. Because you think about it.
Why?
The way my dad thought about it. Mm-hmm. You're approaching someone you don't know. Mm-hmm. You're making him sit down. You're having physical contact with him, because back then we actually put the shoe on the foot.
True. That's right.
Now we just, here's a shoe. And you got to know people. You became a salesperson, and you had to be able to relate within seconds of that meeting with that potential customer, what they wanted, how they wanted it, and what you had to do to have them buy it. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what he was referring to.
And so that sort of human touch, the bedside manner, has informed your ways in law and building this career as well, sounds like.
I don't know. It all came kind of natural, in the sense that I think every lawyer, I don't know every, but I grew up in a house where people argued politics a lot. I came from a very interesting family who were very passionate about politics.
Mom and dad were at each other like this?
Oh no, the whole family. The whole family was like, they would draw straws to see which one of them had a chance to beat up Nixon first. They were pretty liberal, radical people. Uh-huh. I heard a lot of, not arguing like people didn't agree, but political arguing, comments, discussion, passion. Yeah, there's a lot in the house, and so I heard a lot of talking back and forth, growing up, and I listened to it. And of course, I was home a lot, so because I didn't want to get thrown off my bike again. So, I spent a lot of time with them.
Was your family practicing?
Well, everybody's level of practice is different, but I would say,
you guys went to temple?
Yeah, we did. I mean, we were an observant family.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, we were.
So then you are making your way at that first law firm. What caused you to leave there and move on from there after the year or so?
I kind of got sick and tired of representing criminals. I just didn't like it. I understood they had a right to be represented, but I just thought, it's not like really what I want to hang around with. And then the funny part was I was dating this woman, and she was played a punk rock band, and she was really cool. And she came to see me at work one day, and the receptionist says, one of your criminal clients is here to see you. I go, girlfriend. That's my girlfriend. No, I just was always interested in workers' comp, and there weren't a lot of work comp places out there. So what happened was I thought, well, if I'm not going to do that, maybe I can get into a work comp job by going to work for an insurance company. So I went to work for a great American insurance company and in their executive training program, and they put me in underwriting, and I didn't want to be in underwriting, but they explained to me that they didn't put that training program started in underwriting, and that if I was going to be an executive there, that I was going to be in underwriting.
Right.
And it was a little bit boring for me, and I kept begging them to put me in claims, and they didn't.
You actually want to be a claims examiner?
Well, I mean, if I was going to be working for an insurance company, I sure didn't want to do underwriting. And so they said, well, what do you like? And I said, I really am interested in workers' comp. So they said, okay, you can go into work comp underwriting.
Oh, it's always going to be underwriting related.
Yeah. So I said, well, okay, it's better than nothing. So I did that. And then I became friends with the work comp claims manager at that company.
Yeah.
Great guy. And we'd hang out and he'd say, look, you're a lawyer. I know you want to do work comp. I have a friend who's looking for someone at a defense firm. Go for an interview. So I did, and I was hired, and I was very happy.
So that was the first work comp. What time frame was that?
That would have been 78.
Whoa. So all through the 80s, where were you?
I was really fortunate. In the 80s, I was with a firm that's no longer with us by the name of Zani, Ginocchio, and Taylor. And it was a wonderful place to work. I loved it. I have to say I loved every day there. I was there 16 years.
Where was their office? Santa Ana?
Their office was in Santa Ana, the one I worked out of, but they also had offices in other places in California. I worked with wonderful attorneys. I learned from them. They were ethical and did great work, great clients, friends that I still have to this day.
Amazing.
My mentor was Ralph Ginocchio, who is still a person that I consider one of my very best friends and almost a second father to me.
Wow.
I still meet him for dinner.
It's important to have those mentors.
He's just a wonderful man. I mean, I learned so many great things from him. I just owe an incredible debt to him. So I worked for that firm until pretty much a little bit before it ended. And it's sad that it ended. And then, I had to move out into the rest of the world and,
find your way.
Yeah.
A common thread that we've been noticing through these podcasts is people mention their mentors, like time and time again. And I've got mine. We've been, sporadically throughout my life. Who else has been there for you during your coming up years that you would call a mentor?
Only Ralph.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you didn't need anyone else if Ralph was willing to.
If you got a good one.
If Ralph was willing to spend his time with you, you were the luckiest guy in the world.
Wow.
And but at the Zani firm, there were many, many people. I mean, there was, you work in offices where you've been in a lot of offices too. If you go into the traditional office, which there's fewer and fewer of them now, but if you go into a traditional suite of offices, you'll see offices where the doors are open. And you'll go in offices where the doors for all the attorneys are closed. Mm-hmm. And I have found that the offices where most of the doors are closed are pretty unhappy places. And I've gone to offices where most of the doors are open and generally places where people enjoy work because people are not trying to remove themselves
from the environment,
from everyone.
Yeah, very true.
So, in the past when I've had to go look, for jobs, and even before I got the job at Zani, I'd go, when I was interviewing, I would notice that. And if every door was closed, I just stayed away.
That's something you observed over time. I've observed in our goings around, in the various offices, if the front desk person is a certain way, let's say cordial or closed down or actually kind of irritable, usually it's because the higher ups are also that same way. They're like a reflection at the front door of the culture of that office.
I agree with you. That's almost always the case. And at the Zani firm, one of the things they did was, back when you did have a receptionist, the receptionist would put a mirror in front of people and say, we want you to look at yourself and smile when you answer the phone. Look at yourself in the mirror and smile as you're answering the phone. And it worked. And see, you're right, because the first person that you come in contact with, be it a law firm, a physician's office, any business, and particularly a service business, that establishes the floor for the rest of the communication and relationship. So if someone has a hard time reaching you and someone is rude, by the time that person gets to you, if they have an issue or there's a problem they're calling you about, or even if they're in a good mood, by that point, they are not happy. So your job at that point is that much more difficult.
I'm going to pay attention to that open/closed door policy, and see if I can notice a pattern. I'm sure it's true, but I haven't thought about it like that before. Interesting. So with you, with creating your own culture at your own firm, I am assuming that you like the open door sort of smile when you speak to people.
I do, and
That's how you are. So I can only imagine it stems downward.
that's what you want to do. Unfortunately, you can't be on every day, and you can't be happy every day, no matter who you are. I just remember when I took over the management from Ralph Ginocchio, and when he was retiring, and he said to me, well, get ready for the most lonesome job there is.
I'm at the top.
He says, people who invited you to parties aren't going to invite you anymore. People are going to worry about going to lunch with you. You'll just see. He says, he told me, everything starts from you. So if you're upset, you've got to hide that from people. The people who work under you, who you rely on, you can never undercut their authority in front of anybody. You take them into an office and talk to them, but never in front of anyone. He said, if treat people with respect. The thing with that office was,
What was it?
we had an oven in that office. I mean, an oven.
Literal oven for cookies?
So they cook a turkey every year for lunch before Thanksgiving, and Ralph would come in with his apron on and he'd carve the turkey.
Serve it up. Yeah.
And the thing was, he knew everybody in that office, and it was a big office. It didn't matter who it was, the mailroom person on up. He knew them. He knew when it was their birthdays. They were getting married and he was invited. He went to that wedding. If someone was sick in the hospital, he'd go see them in the hospital. I mean, he created this culture that was unbelievable.
I want to work there. Is he hiring?
I wish he'd come out of retirement and come work with me.
He deserves his retirement, I'm sure.
Yes, he does.
Sure of it. Trying to remember the first time I met you, I think that it was actually at a deposition, and it might have been early 2003, 2004 timeframe, somewhere around there, because I just started this agency of mine, and I was still doing depositions at that time myself. And I was actually in one of your depositions, and I was surprised because, I mean, you were the big cheese, and so I was like, whoa, I was nervous. But you were super gracious and friendly and just yourself and natural. So I'm just trying to say thanks after 20 years.
Oh, you're welcome. But the point is, there is no cheese. Anyone can be the king of their own goldfish bowl, but you know what goldfish swim in. So it's like,
true.
There's no reason not to be. We're all only here for a short period of time. We can't be nice to each other. We're wasting our time.
Yeah, I was always blown away how down to earth you were. I came across. Are you really like that in real life?
Yeah, this is real life.
This is a simulation. That's what Elon Musk thinks anyway.
Yeah, well, he does. Hopefully it's right. But no, this is real life.
And this is real life. And we're having a real conversation. But you've always been this. You've always been just warm and genuine.
I like people.
Do people say that about you a lot?
I don't know. Some people might. I don't know.
Hey, with the whole thing about it's lonely at the top kind of thing, who were you or are you able to then confide with, and have, like decompression time with, and who can understand that? Family, other firms, other firm owners, Ralph?
Yeah, Ralph, maybe my partner, Mike. But, sometimes talking to yourself, and I don't mean this to be funny, but sometimes if you sit down in a room, I was given this exercise to try once. Sometimes if you sit down in a room and you look to yourself and you really look across this place and you out loud start talking to yourself or talking to a younger self or some other form of yourself, it brings out a lot of good ideas and a lot of clarity.
Just don't answer back, right?
Well, no, I do. Sometimes I really
this whole conversation.
Yeah, sometimes I just really disagree with it.
He's a real jerk. Can we get this guy to the... Hey, let's try right now. Pretend we're on here. What would you say?
I'm in my room now.
Wow, that is a good exercise. Yeah, try that. Mostly those thoughts, we all have those internal thoughts, obviously, but it's not vocalized in my case. But maybe it would be a good exercise. What's the advantage of vocalizing it, you think? So you can hear it just back to yourself. You're like an observer as well as the...
Well, nobody likes dead conversations. Like, even if you're talking to yourself, say something.
I mean, don't be so shy.
What's wrong with...
I'm not a mind reader.
It's perfect. What's wrong with me, you? I don't know.
I don't read in the dark.
I don't know. It just seems to be helpful. I don't do it too much, but no, I mean,
Are you into meditating at all?
No, I'm too hyper.
Never did. I think that's just about calming down, and I don't know anything about it really, but it's like breathing exercises and just closing the door on the clutter and the noise that they circle around a busy life.
Well, some people are good at compartmentalizing, some not. But I find that listening to loud rock and roll is very helpful. It used to be before every trial, I would put on I Want to Be Sedated by the Ramones and play it as loud as I could when I was driving to court. Felt pretty
Is that
good.
their best song, do you think? Or do they have better songs than that?
I think so, but I really wanted to be sedated.
It was literal.
I do think they have better songs, but I happen to like that one.
Blitzkrieg Pop is a good one. They have a lot of good ones. I think I was hearing that that's a band who is so influential, the Ramones, but they didn't ever go platinum, right?
I don't know. I know that Joe Ramone's real name was Jeffrey Hyman.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you know that? Wikipedia?
I read, you know.
Oh, you're like a historian for music. Is that your favorite band, the Ramones?
No. Favorite band is absolutely the Beatles.
Yeah. Abbey Road Day.
It is Abbey Road. Yeah.
Today is September 26th.
Yeah. I mean, first love is the Beatles, and then probably Buddy Holly. And it goes on and on. Of course, Rolling Stones. Anything that's lively, I don't go for this kind of drippy, groany stuff. I know rock and roll is supposed to be rebellious out in front of it.
Did you like Roy Orbison?
Yeah, I loved Roy Orbison.
I can't not, right? Like, listen to that voice.
Yeah.
I know it's...
Yeah, I loved him. Traveling Wilburys when he was with them. So I made it a point to see as many of the Sun recording artists as I could growing up.
Live?
Yeah, live. My mom and dad let me go to concerts starting at 12.
They'd drop you off?
Well, they'd make an adult go with me. But, like
the good old days.
So the first band I ever saw live was the Dave Clark Five.
Oh, wow.
It was pretty cool.
Who was the most recent band you saw?
Wow.
You hadn't been in a while.
No, I have. I'm just trying not to embarrass myself by telling you it was Herman's Hermits.
It must have been at the fair or something like that.
No.
Fairgrounds.
No, the last person I saw then was actually Shaka Khan.
Okay.
Yeah, at the fairground.
Yeah.
But the Saban Theater in Beverly Hills has some pretty good acts.
Is that where the Herman Hermits were?
Yeah, Hermits.
Weren't they like kind of like a Beatlesy kind of time frame?
Yeah, but Peter
cool.
Noon's still around. It was fun. They did a lot of stuff. Yeah, it was just,
Animals. Do you like the Animals?
I love the Animals. Eric Burden.
Eric Burden, amazing.
Yeah, they were a great band.
I like music too.
Yeah. So Todd actually is a musician himself.
What do you play, Todd?
I play badly.
Okay.
A few things.
I play records, yeah.
I press play.
Yeah. Tell him about your band. Come on.
No, it's not necessary. This is not my story.
This is not your story.
Jeff's story.
You're pretty good. I'm just going to say.
It's okay.
How do I know?
He's paid to say this.
Well, if you ever play somewhere, let me know.
I'm not going to play anywhere.
He has.
Well, if you ever do, let me know. I'll come hear you.
You would hate it.
Okay.
I'm saving you the trouble.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm saving you time right now.
I'm not begging. I ain't too proud to beg, but I'm not begging.
Okay, so I don't know how I got off on that, but it's interesting. You have this whole other side that's so cool. The music side.
No, the law is the other side.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. That's the day job stuff. The real Jeff, it's all the real Jeff. I understand. Multifaceted Jeff Adelson. It's cool. But I remember that you were so kind to me and so gracious to me in that first deposition where I met you. And then later on when I got to work with your office at the time, I really felt, and likely it was unintentional, but I really felt like you had taken me under your wing in a sense that I had just started my agency and you were giving me a shot at some of your files and allowing me into your office and stuff. And I just want to say thanks. I'm still grateful.
Oh, no, you're welcome. And thank you. All people have to do is ask. And, ask in the right way. And that's...
What's the right way? Or what's the wrong way?
The wrong way is to shove things in front of people's faces and say, hey. I mean, look, we're all in business. We all want people to use our services.
Yeah.
But we don't want to oversell ourselves and we don't want to be pushy. But the thing is, if there's...
Air conditioner.
Yeah, it happens. If there's a kindness and a sincerity, then I'm happy to help anybody. There was no motive one way or the other.
You had nothing to gain. And there was already plenty of court reporting services that you were already happily using. And yet you gave this kid, I call myself a kid, and I was a 30-year-old man, a shot.
Well, you were sincere and a nice guy. And
also, I remember you probably have no recollection of this specific conversation, but I had just started the firm. And I think you asked me how old I was, and I said, well, I'm 30 or whatever, or 32. And you said, you still have plenty of time to grow this agency up lose it and start another one and then and build that one up. It's like, what? You've already got my whole career mapped out, all my peaks and valleys.
Well, everybody has peaks and valleys.
It was supposed to be encouraging, but yeah. So I was like, whoa, no, I don't want to.
Everybody does. I'm certainly living a different life than I expected I would be at this point. But you know what? Everybody has peaks and valleys.
Mm-hmm.
My father used to tell me, he was a very wise guy. He says, yeah, you're going to have peaks and valleys. He says, just remember, don't stay in the valley.
Keep walking.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You've been through some valleys.
It's fine.
What do you consider right now, 2019, like this season right now? Peak or valley or midway transition, or where is it for you?
Climbing a new mountain.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
How old is this firm, by the way?
Our firm is going on 5 months.
Growing pains?
No, we've really enjoyed it. We've had a good time. We've all worked together in the past, and we're enjoying it. We're focused. We like what we do, and so far so good.
Do you personally have a file load, or are you kind of bringing in the business and the relationships and stuff like that?
The good thing about our firm is that everybody has some really good, solid relationships, and I am helping people with their files. Let me put it that way.
Doing depositions at all?
I am doing depositions, going to court. I'm doing probably more civil than work comp right now.
Really?
Yeah, but
It's not what you want to do?
Well, I've done plenty of civil in my life. So, look, right now it's all about covering what we need to cover, doing what we need to do. I'm enjoying it.
Well, I know people know you, and you have a great reputation in this industry. So now that they hopefully will hear this podcast too, it'll be somewhat of a help to see where you're at now, what you're doing, what you've been up to lately.
Well, thanks. Yeah. No, it's fun, and we want to keep it fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we want to do the best we can do. Life's about litigation management now and all those sorts of things.
What does that even mean? Litigation management?
Kind of view...
Mitigate it?
Well, we are living in the era of mitigation for sure, but it's basically looking at a large group of files as opposed to one file. It's basically, managing whatever you have with a particular client to conform to their needs, not to your own. There are clients who would come to me and say, well, the reason we ask you to do things in a certain way is because we put this information into our system and we feed it back to our people, and that's how we make certain decisions. And that's why you need to do it this way. So one file, multiple files, they have to be done in a certain way so that their business model can sustain itself. And I get that. So that's where, a lot of the friction between insurance companies and their attorneys come in, is because of the guidelines that the insurance companies ask. I'm sure you follow them as well.
Yeah.
And if you ever sat down and asked yourself why and what are these guidelines, you would understand the value of them to your client. So what I tell younger lawyers and my friends and other firms who tend to complain about it, and truly everyone complains about it, but I tell them, look, you've signed a contract. This is part of the contract you've signed with your client. You've agreed to do this. So if you're not to do this, you shouldn't take the work if you're not willing to do this.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. It's like going to get your car washed and having them clean 3 wheels. What about the 4th wheel? I want it washed. Where the guy goes, well, you only paid me for 3 wheels. And, it's like it doesn't work that way. You're there to serve the client. And part of serving the client is not just getting a good result on that one case. It's consistently handling your files in a consistent manner that fit in with their practice and getting a good result on the case.
Would you say that mindset is one of the differentiating factors between you and maybe, some of your competitors out there?
Some of them. I think more and more people are coming to see that.
Mm-hmm.
I would go to, I would go to seminars and workshops for managing partners. And, depending on how large your firm was, you would be divided into groups. So like if your firm had so many attorneys, you'd be with other managing partners from around the country who had the same size firm. And they were all insurance defense attorneys. And you'd sit there and the whole thing was, they would complain about their clients. I'm not going to go into detail, but they would complain about their clients. And, it just occurred to me that, this was ridiculous. Having listened to this, I just, I raised my hand and I said, guys, has anyone here not made a good living? Has anyone here not had a good life? I mean, what are you complaining about? I mean, this is the way it is. If you don't want to do it, then don't do it. But if you want to do it, then you need to follow your client's requests because you've agreed to fulfill them. So I don't want to hear it.
How'd they take that?
You know, whatever.
So I'm
they all
complaining about you now.
they averted their eyes and said, "Oh, this guy." Okay,
I know. I was always one in the crowd, right?
but I do feel that way.
Yeah. This is what you signed up for.
It's exactly what you signed up for. It's not about right or wrong. It's just like, look, I agreed to do it.
Yeah. Are you currently sort of in marketing mode, like where you're going to events and some of these conventions and conferences and stuff like that and getting a booth or showing up and doing that kind of stuff too to get new work?
We don't do booths. I don't know. I'm not saying we never will. I'm not a fan.
How come?
Because I just feel like you're closed in and you're sitting there like some caged animal, and I don't want to sit there. And no one really cares who you are anyway. They just want, they want the pen or they want, whatever.
I know.
Squeezy thing.
Yeah. They want the,
They want the Jeff Adelson bobblehead.
Yeah, they want the CBG dog toy, whatever. So, no. But I do like speaking. So I've always, done maybe 4 or 5, panels or independent, lectures a year. So that I do mainly because I enjoy them. So I'll be at the SIIA meeting next week in San Francisco speaking on a panel.
Oh, cool. What's the date of that?
I believe it's
October.
I think it's October 1st. Yeah.
Oh, great.
When I'm there.
Okay, great.
So no, I like doing that.
Yeah.
And the thing that's fun, the thing that sometimes when, I'm interviewing new attorneys and if I'm sitting up somewhere on the first floor, I'll sometimes ask them, I say, I want you to look out the window and I want you to tell me what you see. Most will say, see cars.
What do they say?
I see cars.
Yeah.
I see the sky. I see trees. I see a couple UFOs. Yeah.
You're hired.
Yeah. Come on down.
You're my people.
And I go, yeah, that's true. But what do we do here?
Yeah.
Well, we're lawyers. Well, okay, we're a work comp defense firm, mainly, or the part of the firm I'm dealing with is. What do? We represent employers. I said, now sitting from this window, how many employers do you see? And they go, oh my God, lot.
Ocean of them.
Yeah, and I asked them further, isn't it the law that every employer in California have work comp insurance? They go, yeah. So isn't it true that possibly everybody you see is a potential client of yours at some point? And they go, yeah. And by the way, Netflix has something really good on tonight. Bye. And so I just view the world at large as a potential for meeting. It's not only a potential for clients, it's a potential for friends, it's a potential
relationship.
It's a potential for everything.
Opportunity, not for just the mercenary side.
Right. Once you walk out of the door of your house or your office or get off an airplane or get on an airplane, you never know. You never know who you're going to meet and why. Could be a great friendship. Could be one of those 4-hour friendships on a plane where, you just never know. And that's the joy of it.
So true. That is why we started this podcast, by the way, because we've been noticing through this time in this industry that we would meet because of the business. Yeah, we're showing up to do a job and have that relationship at that level, but also it grows from there and they become friends and almost like family. And then we get to know them hear their stories and stuff. So let's start this podcast and make it an intentional effort to capture it.
But also imagine all the stories you hear during the depositions you've taken.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing stories, true stories. So what Studs Terkel did in his book was he did that. He went and asked people, what do you do at work? He did one on veterans who'd been in the war. What did you do in the war? And people could tell whatever. But everyone's story is unique.
I'm going to check out that book because it's also on your webpage that you mentioned it.
Right. I've always loved it. But everyone's story is unique. In particular, every immigrant's story is unique, more so than you can imagine. There's a lot of people with a lot of courage that are walking around in this world that you don't look at them and think, well, they were courageous people because maybe they don't have a high position. Maybe the job they're engaging in at the moment isn't a prestigious job, but they still have the courage to leave their home to come to an unknown place to try and find a better life, as my family did. There's a lot of things in the world that are right in front of us that we just don't see or appreciate.
It's a good reminder. It's a good attitude to have, I think, because, you could get stuck in a rut or you could sort of just go through life and the mundanity of it all can put a gloss over your eyes and you think, oh, it's just another day, it's just another career. But there's actually inspiration to be found anywhere, everywhere. In fact, there's nowhere that it's not if you are looking for it.
I agree. No, if you take the time to talk to people, and all people want is someone to be nice to them. That's all they want. That's all I want. It's just that. I mean, someone smiles, someone's nice, someone thanks you. It's important.
You remember that time you had to yell at me?
I don't think I yelled at you. I remember, I think I know what you're speaking about, but I
want to hear it. What do you remember about it?
I don't want to get into it.
You don't? I wanted to say,
was it about the gas?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, well, I don't think it's very flattering to you, so I didn't want to get into it.
No, it's fine because I learned from that. And it was a long time ago too, so it's like, that was the other guy. that was the old me.
Well, just to make you feel not so, I didn't want to make you feel bad, but,
it was a good lesson though, that I needed to learn, and I learned.
I think the lesson that I hoped you would get from me was that good work is good work.
That's true.
All I wanted was good work.
Yeah. So for the listeners at home whose interest is now peaked beyond belief, is that in my early days, and this was around 2005, I believe, and just started my court reporting agency, and I had I saw a flyer from one of my competitors who was giving out gas cards for depositions to legal secretaries, and I thought, well, that's an interesting marketing angle. I'm going to try it. And not knowing any better, I rolled out this little plan, and I rolled it out at your specific office, actually. And for every deposition, here's a gas card. And sure enough, the phone starts ringing. Ding! I'd like to schedule a depo, and I'll have my gas card, please. So I thought, this is brilliant. This is great. This is the shortcut to growing an agency, right? Well, 2 minutes of that, and all of a sudden, my office manager's calling me and saying, it's Jeff Adelson. He's not happy. And this is Friday morning, May 25th, 2005, about 9:12 a.m. It's like seared in my brain.
I'm sorry.
And I get, oh my gosh, okay, patch him through. So I'm I was just got out of the gym. I'm sitting in my car, and it's you on the phone. And you really read me the riot act, justifiably. And it was basically, the gist was, don't you understand the conflict of interest that it puts you and your firm in with your clients if you're allowing a vendor to come in and sort of give these incentives / bribes in order to get work? Then it's that, and don't ever do that again. In fact, you're out, and don't ever come to my offices ever again.
Oh, sorry about that. I've learned too since then.
And so here's another lesson I learned from you, is that I expected you, after you read me that riot, I expected you to slam the phone and boom, hang up on me, but you didn't. You just stayed on the line. And I'm like, are you still there? And I don't know what I was saying, but I was begging, pleading, I was trying to explain, and you said, no, just accept it. This is the end of the road for you, basically. And you still didn't hang up. I expected you to slam it down like a normal person would, but you just, like a gentleman, stayed on the damn line. I was waiting for the splash of water or the slap in the face, and it never came. And finally, I'm like, okay, well, bye, I guess, But I learned my lesson from that, because the neutrality of the court reporter, specifically what we do, is eroded if we are sort of doing that kind of thing. And so I learned an important lesson that helped me. So thank you.
Well, you're welcome. I'm sorry I wasn't nicer about it. I think now I would be. But see, part of what didn't go on is that it created some disruption in my office as well, because why are you getting a card? I want a card. It's like, we're not about that. No, we're not. But look, I'm glad you don't hate me for it.
Me?
Oh, thanks.
It was a growing pain.
Yeah.
Peaks and valleys. Somebody told me that once about 20 minutes ago.
But it was not unusual. You were not the only person I've had to have that conversation with.
Everyone was kind of doing that back then.
Everyone was doing it. Yeah. And it was just like, come on, we got work to do here. Plus, our clients tell us who to use, less so back then. And certain people were going off panel, and we're having pushback from our clients. I mean, that's all. But, I'm sorry. I should have been nicer.
Zero apologies necessary. Completely justified. And it was a good life lesson for me too. Steered love, in a sense.
Well, good. Well, now you're a great success, and we're very happy for you.
Thank you. But it's day by day. Obviously, we have a great team, but also we learned what you said earlier, is like, just do good work. And that's really what it is. And be nice too. And then the work will come. The career happens. You don't need these shortcuts.
No, but we all want what we want. We all stay up at night looking and thinking about how we're going to do better.
Do you still do that?
Every night. but I do it, but I don't do it in a worried way. I do it in like a creative way. I do it like, you know, there are a lot of blocks that are put on us.
Yeah.
For various reasons. And the key is to never take any of it personally.
It's very true.
It's like someone doesn't want to use you or doesn't want to use us. It's generally, it's not personal. If it is, well, then I've done something wrong. It's generally not. And, you just move on. And hopefully you move on graciously.
You have.
Yeah, why not?
And there's a lot of clients out there too. So if you don't get one or you lose one, you have one for a while and then you lose them, which happens to everyone, then you wake up the next day and you suit up and it's a brand new chance to go out there and get a new one.
Exactly. And, even if you lose one, you want to be gracious and you want to be able to leave on good terms.
Yeah. Has it ever happened where you lost one, but then got them back?
Well,
or those people move around and then they
many times
took you. Yeah. That happens all the time to us too.
Yeah, it does. And, you're disappointed and you're sad and then you get over it. And you look inside and try and decide why, figure out why. And sometimes you look inside and you go, yeah, I don't blame them. We didn't really do what they'd asked us to do. And other times she said, well, Gandhi couldn't have done it better. And, I guess they didn't want Gandhi. Anyway, yeah, it's just the nature of the business.
How do you stay positive like that despite those blocks and those bad days that happen?
Because it's so much easier to be happy than it is to be miserable.
It's a choice.
Yeah. Look, your world, every day is not going to be good every day, but I learned a lot during my wife's illness, and my wife passed away almost exactly 5 years ago.
Very sorry.
Thank you. And, during her decline from the illness, which was, about a year and a half, we learned a lot about things. We learned a lot about each other, even though we'd been married quite a while, and we learned a lot about how every day is different. And we also learned that there would be a day that would come in her life where they would just say, where they'd shut the door and say, there's nothing. This is it. So, that
was 5 years ago?
Yeah, we knew that day would come, and it came. I called it Cliff Day. And we realized that even though from the day of her diagnosis to the day of her death was going to be hard, what we didn't realize was that we would never be closer or enjoy each other's company more.
During that year and
a half, yeah. And so she was really great. And so she really appreciated the days where she felt well enough to do things. And those were really amazing days. Usually you don't take your life into days. Usually your life seems to be a big blur of blocks of time. I was working for this company, I was here. But then when you are getting to a point where something's going to come to an end, and everything does end, that sometimes those days seemed, to go on, the good days seemed to go on for long periods of joyous hours, which were so important, more important than even, blocks of months. So really, we all have disappointments, we all have hurt, and it's just a matter of how we deal with it. We can hold grudges or we don't have to. So if you're lucky and you can figure out how not to hold a grudge, you're going to be much better off and happy.
Good life advice, I think.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Was her illness came out of the blue? Like she was fine?
Yeah.
And then one day you get this news?
Yeah.
And then a year and a half later, it's...
Yeah, pretty much one of those.
Gone.
Yeah, pretty much one of those.
Very sorry.
Thank you. Well, it was a good time for she and I, even then, in spite of the worst things that could happen.
Were you able to take off? Did you need to take off time from work and to care for her and tend to her during that year and a half?
I would go to, chemo with her all the time. But what was really nice was the firm I was with at the time, left it to me how I wanted to handle it. And they were very generous and gracious.
Thank God.
I just balanced it out, because you find that when you take on the role of a caretaker, you really need to have something else to do as well. Work was a great escape. So, I wanted to work. I wanted to take care of her, but I needed to work. If I only took care of her all day long and didn't work, I would have been burned out. So, I read up a lot about those issues, and, the firm was extremely supportive, and I was lucky.
Good.
We got through it.
And they're having never gone through something like that. I do have a brother, and his wife passed away a number of years ago, and leaving a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old kids. You have grown children, though, right?
I do.
2 sons?
Son and daughter.
Son and daughter, okay. So they lost their mom.
Yeah, that was the worst of it.
That's got to be the worst.
Yeah. Because she was really a great mom to them.
Yeah. Does grief counseling help? Or you recommend that kind of thing?
It's different for everyone. I went for a little bit, but everyone grieves in their own way, in their own time. It's kind of like some people, it just hits them right away. Some people, they go 2 years and it hits them. You just don't know. What I didn't really like about grief counseling was I didn't like the schmaltziness, I didn't like the, this too shall pass. I just didn't like that.
Oh, like platitudes?
Yeah. I just wanted to
Everything happens for a reason. That doesn't help. Right? That meant
a little bit. No, I just dug into it. I just remember, the night my wife passed away, she passed away at home, and I walked over the threshold from our bedroom into the hall, and I just walked out, and I just thought, my God, what's going to happen? And it was the middle of the morning. It was like 1 a.m. I went outside, opened the front door, looked upside. It was a full moon, looked up at the moon, and a palm tree was blocking a little bit of the moon. And I go, this is how I'm going to remember this. Just the moon and the palm tree. It's very peaceful. Went back inside. Everyone does it their own way. The only thing I think I could advise is you should never make really important decisions for at least a year after. I think that's important. I think you need time. Even if you feel good, somewhere you need time to settle down inside of yourself. I don't think you can run from it. I don't know that it does any better to embrace it, go to support groups. I don't know. Everyone does differently. I will tell you this. We all know everyone has problems. Everybody in their life have issues to deal with.
Yeah.
So the thing I would say is, the person in the car next to you that you're honking at, that person may be coming home from visiting someone in the hospital. That person may be dealing with an incredible problem. That person just may not be having your day. Give everybody a break. I remember driving home from my dad's funeral, and I wasn't going fast enough. And this guy's behind me honking, and I think to myself, you idiot, don't you know I'm coming home from my dad's funeral? Of course, he did not know that. I knew that. But I thought, well, what if I was the guy who was honking and the other guy was coming home from his dad's funeral? So,
Right. Oh my God.
Give everybody the break, because everyone will look that.
More good life lessons there. I agree. So it's been 5 years ago.
5 years in October, yeah.
Coming up.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about something else.
Let's turn to present day. You're excited because you have a brand new firm now, and things are growing, and it's fun. It's like building something as you fly it, I imagine.
Well, yeah. I think better put the wings on first.
Yeah.
It is. It is fun. I mean, it's always been fun. It was fun at the old firm too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun. It's what I'm interested in. It's what I like doing.
Well, you're like a scholar and a gentleman at the same time.
I'm just a guy who wants to hear loud music.
Hey, what's a band do you think, okay, back to music. What's a band do you think that is very popular but overrated?
I will say that I'm in a place that I never thought I'd be. I don't really know what popular music is anymore. I mean, I'm not listening to the stuff on, I only want to listen to rock and roll's kind of dying. I mean, I'll listen to jazz. I'm happy to listen to jazz. I like opera. I'll go to classical. But, rap is monotonous to me. It's just not what I grew up with. I mean, I recognize the value in it, but not what excites me. So I listen to Little Steven's Underground Garage on Sirius Radio pretty much all the time. And, there's some young bands that are still playing rock and roll music. And by rock and roll music, I mean not corporate stuff. I mean, guitars, drums, who are going out there and have a sense of rebellion to them. I mean, that's the whole thing about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's completely contrary to, the rock and roll was an anti-establishment.
Supposed to be, huh?
And they got a Hall of Fame. And what are they going to have next? The Communist Party Hall of Fame. I don't like it.
Do you ever listen to Eddie Trunk?
No.
He's like the heavy metal channel on Sirius.
I don't listen to heavy metal.
You never did?
No, I don't like it.
How come?
Just
that's rock and roll?
It is rock and roll, but it's
Like too glammy or
yeah,
got too heavy? Too
yeah,
heavy on the guitars.
yeah.
Did you like Kiss?
I think Kiss was a good pop band. Not in love with them.
I don't think they have great songs. They have one or two great songs and then they have incredible marketing and incredible imagery, in my opinion.
Well, they're fun. I mean, they're fun. They're better than a lot,
They spit fire.
but they're not. No, they were never at the top.
Yeah.
They never made it to my record collection. I'll put it that way. I didn't have any tapes with them on it, but
How is your record collection?
Today.
I have about 6,000 LPs all in storage because I don't have anywhere to keep them other than storage.
Mhm.
And I don't like the new vinyl because I think the new vinyl is nothing but digital music on vinyl. Because it's on vinyl doesn't mean it's a record.
Yeah.
Just another form of digitized music. So original vinyl, yeah, I love it. It has that warm, raw sound. And see, I like the rawness of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously you listen to Sgt. Pepper's or something, you put the headphones on and you listen to every little cough and beat, and that's
Awesome.
It is awesome. That's incredible art. But what I want to see is, I mean, I saw Charlie Musselwhite's band a few years ago. This is him, guitar, drummer. I mean, that was it. It was basic.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it was good. I love surf music played live. I like Dick Dale. I mean, I just want music that makes you feel like,
I know the drummer. I know the son of the main guy of the Surfaris.
oh, wow, that's pretty good.
It's the local guy in Yorba Linda.
That's pretty good. The Surfaris.
And so he plays with his dad's band. He's a drummer, and he's the drummer now for his dad's band.
That's
He's
very
the
cool.
Surfaris guy.
See, you know what I think's kind of cool? If you listen to some good rock and roll music,
Mhm.
even if you're not athletic and you can't run long distances, it makes you feel like you can.
Yeah, it's like the anthem for the non-jocks. That's me.
Yeah, that's me. I mean, I remember we had music appreciation class. I forgot what grade I was in. And everyone brought in stuff, and I brought in the first Led Zeppelin album before anyone had heard it. And I want to listen to Tommy James and the Shondells. Forget that. I'm dazed and confused.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, and then people in the class at Villa Park High School,
I got scared.
another reason to knock Jeff off his bike.
Not by then.
Well, yeah.
So do you store them horizontally or vertically?
Horizontal.
Yeah.
Well, they're all wrapped. I mean, they're in a warehouse. There's a guy in a record store who wants to buy them. I'm happy to sell them. But I mean, I've got stuff from, I've got early Elvis and Bill Haley and original Billie Holiday. And of course, Billie Holly too. I mean, Buddy Holly and Billie Holiday. Sorry about it. All the stuff. And the thing is, people think it's very valuable, but it's really, some of it is, some of it's not. Most of it's not. Because, like, if you go down the street in a suburb that wasn't built yesterday, every other garage has a copy of a Beatles album, and it's somewhere.
Well, speaking of, did you like Paul McCartney's last solo album, like about 6 months ago? Or...
I loved it.
You
I
did?
thought it was a great comeback for him.
It sounded good, huh?
It did sound really good. You were asking who I saw recently. I saw Ringo and his all-star band. So, like, everyone liked it. I'm sitting there at the Greek Theater, and
Pretty entertaining stuff.
people say that. And the musicians were great. The stuff Ringo did was the worst. And they had the keyboardists from Santana playing, and the Santana songs were amazing. I thought, what's Ringo doing with this stuff? I mean, Ringo, like the Beatles, Ringo was a Beatle. I'm telling my girlfriend, Ringo was a Beatle.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have to be playing with these guys.
Yeah.
They're great. Why is Ringo doing other people's songs? Ringo
Right.
shouldn't have to do other people's songs. Why is Ringo up there dressed like a fool? Because he's making a ton of money, and he was happy and he was gracious, and I love Ringo.
He loves it. That's why.
That's why he does it. But Paul McCartney, I don't think he has much of a voice anymore. But you know what? I don't care. I'll go see Paul McCartney.
Oh, he's a
McCartney.
living legend.
He is. He's cool. So is Ringo.
I saw the Ringo thing on Access TV or something like that, and it was really entertaining.
It was entertaining.
But he's only got songs that he led on in the Beatles. It's only a handful of them that were hits, right?
Right. But he's playing Yellow Submarine. So I'm up there singing at the top of my lungs, Yellow Submarine. And I really for a minute, I thought it was just me and Ringo singing Yellow Submarine.
See, you had this connection.
It was really cool.
He saw you, I think.
He has a nice smile. He seems like a good guy. He seems like a good guy. I'd like to meet him. I'd be afraid to meet Mick Jagger or Keith Richards, but you meet one of the Beatles, you'd be like, cool.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the only person in the world that could make me starstruck would be Paul McCartney.
Really?
Yeah.
But he'd be so charming. You'd be disarmed, I imagine.
Yeah,
That's how
probably.
he comes across.
Yeah.
super charming, super boyish, mischievous still at 70 something, whatever,
Yeah, I know. It's cool. It's hard to believe that they did Sergeant Pepper's. He was 25 when they did Sergeant Pepper. The brilliance of a 25-year-old guy. I mean, wow.
Can't underestimate it.
It's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I remember the first time I heard that. And I remember the first time I heard the Sergeant Pepper's album.
Yeah.
My father, through the kindness of his heart, let me play it on his stereo.
Really? That was the good one?
Which I wasn't allowed to touch, yeah.
Yeah.
To which he was complaining because my father was still like, big band guy.
Yeah. Glenn Miller time?
Yeah, Glenn Miller time. And Sinatra, none of which is bad.
No.
So, yeah, I mean, the first time I heard A Day in the Life, I just thought, oh my God. But
it's like mind blown, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I remember the first time I heard Abbey Road.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I remember the night I bought it. There was a record store across from Cal State Fullerton. I went across the street and they had it like the night before. It's supposed to be issued on a Friday, but they had it on Thursday night. They brought it out. And so my buddy and I each bought a copy. We drove home as fast as we could in his mom's car, ran upstairs to his bedroom, put it on. And I go, oh man, they still got it. This is great.
You loved it.
Stayed up all night.
Note one, it was awesome.
Yeah, Note one. Stayed up all night playing it over and over and over and over again.
Where do you go to buy vinyl now?
I don't.
Online?
I don't buy much vinyl.
Oh, you don't buy it anymore?
The last vinyl I bought was this obscure thing. There was a band back in the mid-'60s, an English band called the Nashville Teens, and they had one hit called Tobacco Road. But they did a live album with Jerry Lee Lewis when he toured England around 65. So it's Jerry Lee Lewis live backed by the Nashville Teens. So I found that album and I bought that. That's pretty good.
The music is it rock and roll?
That's Jerry Lee Lewis stuff. But, Nashville Teens were a good band.
Huh.
And so, yeah, that was a fun record. And then the other one, there was a, I don't know how many years ago in New York in a club, Muddy Waters was playing and the Rolling Stones. Just Mick and Keith showed up and got on stage and played with Muddy Waters. Someone recorded it, and I have that album.
How old is Mick now? Like 70s?
He's in his 70s. I'm not sure how far into him.
How do you stay that lithe and that skinny and that so
I don't know
crazy at that age?
Oh, he's lucky. He's great.
Gene.
I mean, so's Ringo.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously work hard at it. But I'm into the Rolling. I like the Rolling Stones more as a blues band, and that's why that last album they did a few years ago, that was all blues covers, was to me so good.
Hey, so what's next for you, for this firm, or for whatever's going on in the next? What's on the next horizon?
Well, we don't know. Where our firm will lead us. So far, it's been good. People have been very kind. We appreciate it.
Are you accepting new files right now?
Well, of course.
You heard it here first, folks. Here's your chance. Do you have any coupons or discounts we can offer?
No. We're giving them gas cards.
Gas cards. I was going to say that. Yeah.
Occasionally we validate parking, but anyway, but anyway, no, we want to build. We don't know where the firm will take us. Wherever it takes us, and take us. But we just want to be able to put out, good work and compliant work. I mean, everyone says they want to put out good work. We just want to put out good work and work that, is in compliance with the guidelines and the needs of our clients. Look, attorneys are not the center of the universe. We used to think we were, but we're not. And we're part of a larger team, and we just want to, fulfill our role in that regard. And same goes with court reporting. The thing that I tell people about interpreters and court reporters.
Yeah, what?
I really wanted to do a seminar one day, a panel with interpreters and court reporters. Well, one, I don't think people understand that a court reporter can make someone look really good or not. They're not going to make someone look bad, but you guys do a great job. When I was a new attorney, a younger attorney, not new, when I was working for another firm, there was this old guy court reporter. He was like a sole practitioner. And I don't know, every depo I took, he was the same guy.
It wasn't me, was it?
No, you weren't born yet. What I didn't know was that the firm had used him, and he was there to tell him how I was doing. But more so, he was there to help me. And he would say, look, I'm not a lawyer, but I've been doing this for 30 years. And I got to tell you, this was good. This was good. This was good. This wasn't good. You should have asked this. But I was good enough to take the advice.
Wow.
And I learned a lot through him. And we were friends all the way through his death. And he was great. So lawyers who don't take it seriously, who don't help you, or aren't kind are losing out on a big asset. You're as much a part of the team as the attorney because it has to be right. And the same with the interpreter, the same with, and the whole thing, the same with everybody in the business. I was thinking about it, and I don't want to name them all now because I can't, but I was thinking for every litigated work comp case, there's probably about 15 different fingers in that file at one point or another. You, me, copy service, interpreters,
Right.
nurse managers. It just goes on and on and on. There's a lot of people. It's a big event to coordinate. We're all in it together. Litigation can be really hard, or it can be at least tolerable.
What's the best way for people to find you, contact you?
I guess our website, AdelsonMcLean.com.
McLean is 1C, MCLEAN.com. AdelsonMcLean.com. Okay, cool.
And they can always call us. We actually talk on the phone.
What a concept.
Do emails, texts, but talking on the phone's not bad.
No. And you're super responsive to when I sent you this invite for this podcast. You the very next day or even the same day, you said, "What's it about?" And then it was like, "Yes, let's do this."
Yeah.
Are you always that responsive?
Always.
To everyone?
Yeah.
Even little court reporters like me? Clearly.
Well, we're not a little court reporter, but no, to everyone. That's one thing that's easy to do. That's easy to be responsive. And that's really the biggest complaint that people have about service providers. Like, we're a service provider, you guys are too. People want to use your service. You should be happy and appreciative. And the reason people need information is because they have to do something with it. So when you don't respond, you're holding them up. And then there's someone that they have to answer to. And the idea is to make everyone's job easy.
Then they'll come back.
Right. A transaction that's easy, even if in the end the result is great, if it was miserable getting there, you don't want to use that person again. You just don't. You go into the restaurant, you order a meal, and the meal comes out cold, and they go well, we're really sorry. So they try to fix it. In the meantime, everyone else is eating. And you're sitting there going, yeah, you fixed it. It's nice or responsive, but, I don't want to come back because I don't want this to happen to me again.
Yeah. Good point. We had talked about mentors earlier, and, I would call you one of my mentors along the way. You're like my Ralph.
Well, I'm honored.
My Ralph.
I'm honored. Truly, I am. I think that's very kind.
That's no joke, too.
Well, I didn't know.
Especially because you came along early on in my formation of this.
Well, I'm very flattered and honored.
Grateful.
And I didn't know, but thank you. That makes me
I
feel
wanted
good.
to tell you in person.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Hey, you're very welcome. Jeff Adelson, thank you so much for being on our TOA Storytellers podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Did I forget anything? Last thoughts?
No, thanks. Can tell you more stories another day, but no, thanks.
Part 2.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.